So I just shot something, auditioned for something this afternoon, did a self-tape about half an hour before we got started here. And that came in yesterday and it was due today at 3 o'clock. So that's a very quick turnaround. So I know I had to dedicate a certain amount of time to that fairly quickly. So I do a very quick scan of it to begin with. I read everything on the page, and then I break it down. And I almost read these sides backwards to see if what's being motivated, what the end effect should be, and how it is different from where I started. And there has to be movement in the character. It cannot be. You can't start and end with these on the same note, or we end up with flatlining, and we all know what flatlining means in a medical drama or in life. So you try to find something memorable within the sides, and what is it that you're going to do that's going to be perhaps a bit different than everyone else. Then I write out all my lines, just my lines, go over it, absorb those lines. And then I've got a wonderful reader who you guys know, my wonderful Erin, and she really puts my feet to the fire. She turns into a very tough negotiator. I shouldn't even say negotiator because there's no negotiating. Like, that sucks. You're not going to put that in with my voice on it. I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do to change it? Seriously. So she's great. She's wonderful. And she's a wonderful reader, and she's very critical. And which I think is really important with a reader, somebody who can actually give you their honest feedback without worrying about your ego. And sometimes we argue. Sometimes, she'll say, you're moving too much, and I'll say, I'm not moving too much. I'm happy with the amount I'm moving. There's a nervous energy, and it has to be there. And she'll say, okay, I'm just telling you, you're wrong. So go ahead, we'll take a look at it. We shoot it a couple different times. And so she has a really critical eye. So we'll shoot it a bunch of times, and make sure that the eye lines are good, make sure that the pace is good, depending on whether it's whether it's a comedy, if it's a drama, if it's a film or television, what it is, and make sure the pacing is good, and package and send it off. And the process that I use, I shoot everything on an iPhone, and within 7 minutes of having the take that I want, or the takes that I want, I can have it packaged, uploaded, and sent off to my agent. So it's a very quick process. And sometimes if I'm on the move, I'll literally shoot it and then go on about my day, and I'll be, waiting for a flight or something, and I'll package it at that point as I'm sitting at the airport and have it sent off to my agent. So it's a very streamlined, easy process. And there were a lot of terrible things about COVID, but one of the good things is I think we ended up with this self-tape ability and the polished up skill set to be able to shoot good quality auditions. Let's face it, self-tapes are wonderful for the actor who maybe needs a couple kicks at the can to impress. And it's a great way to have a record of what you've done and how far you've come. So anyway, that's what my process basically looks at. It's pretty simple. If it's a really meaty role, like with Heartland, I could tell that there was more to it, that there even though they didn't say it, I had a very good idea of what could be with this character. So I really did a backstory on this character, so much so that when I did land the part and I went to shoot the first episode, I got talking to one of the executive producers over breakfast, actually, and he said, so where do you see this character going? And I knew, I just told him everything that I'd thought of, everything that I had come up with for the audition. And he said, wow, that's great. That's great. Stay tuned. Let's see what happens. And so that turned into 3 episodes so far. We're on break right now. We'll see if Heartland comes back next year, and hopefully Mike McCluskey does as well.
That's great. That's like, it reminds me of the old Matthew McConaughey, know your guy. He's like, that's his number one tip. Really know who you are. And if you know that, then the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, sorry, Lars, let me just interrupt there. I think if we only see the sides for the lines and not a character, I think that comes across on screen. I think a casting director can see a mile away. If you are regurgitating lines, they can see it. If there's no character there, if there's no history, if there's no reason for why this guy is presenting the way he is, if there's no real life behind him, behind those eyes, I think casting directors see that right away. And I think they either fast forward or they just stop and move on to the next clip.
Right. Or you just blend in with all the other reads. Like 80% of the reads are kind of flat like that. And then there's a few that stand out with something special.